We also have Sanjay Asher, who's the senior partner at Crawford Bayley, who's going to talk to us about this particular piece that's come out. Good morning, Sanjay. Tell us, what does this imply? What implications, what impact could this have? What's your view?
No, we will obviously an appeal will have to be filed even after 2 or 3 weeks. No, in that sense, finality on the Sebi's order. So obviously, it will go to the Supreme Court, and I think SAT has left it now for the Supreme Court to decide as to what should be the final verdict at the interim stage.
Right. What does this mean for the larger merger with regard to Sony? We do have statements coming out that it doesn't have a material impact on the merger itself, and the merger itself can go ahead. But in your view, would this in any way dent the merger prospects at all?
Absolutely no, it will not dent the merger prospects at all. Merger is a separate ballgame altogether. All the legal requirements in letter and spirits have been met. So I don't foresee any issue on any dents on the merger process. It should go on smoothly in a seamless manner, irrespective of the development of today by SAT.
Right. Sanjay, there's Cheryl also joining in the conversation. Like you said, that this should ideally not have an impact on the merger prospects of Sony with ZEEL, and we also know that there will be a hearing later on in the day on this particular prospect. But right now, from the initial reaction, you are expecting that Punit, Goenka and Subhash Chandra to challenge this particular order in the higher courts?
Yes, they will. They will appeal at the higher court, undoubtedly, because otherwise this would be a finality at this stage. So they should, and I'm sure that they will apply for an appeal before the Supreme Court.
Sanjay, in your view, how long will this take? Is there some sort of a timeline that you ought to appeal in, and how quickly will the order be passed on the back of that?
In 2 weeks' time, there should be a stay in case the Supreme Court grants the stay, and the final obviously will be heard in its own course. But on this order, if Punit, Goenka and Subhash Chandra appeal, then obviously the SLT will be decided at the stage of filing. Notice should be issued to Sebi because it's an important aspect and it can't be heard ex parte. And then it is dependent on the Supreme Court whether they would grant stay on the order or not.
All right. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining us and giving us your initial reaction to this particular development. We are also joined by Mr. P Ranina right now. And good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on ET now. And what we are hearing is that SAT has actually refused to grant interim stay on Sebi's order, given the fact that Sebi had earlier barred Subhash Chandra as well as Punit Goenka from holding director position in any of the listed companies. Your initial reaction to this particular verdict coming in from SAT, are you expecting this particular order to be challenged in higher court?
You see, SAT has only said, given I think 2 weeks to Punit Goenka and to Subhash Chandra to file their reply. And they say therefore that we are continuing with the status quo. Now, in that situation, I don't think that they have much choice but to give a reply within those 2 weeks. And going to a court on this order, higher court like Supreme Court on this order, I doubt whether the Supreme Court will interfere. They'll say just wait, let the 2 weeks expire, let them give a reply, let SET then consider that reply objectively and then give its decision. And then if there's a grievance, you can come to us. So this is just an interim order. Normally, Supreme Court doesn't interfere in such interim orders where you're given him an opportunity to be heard and asking them to give their reply. So I think they will have no choice but to give their reply within 2 weeks. SAT will then have to give its final verdict. And then, of course, it will be appealable.
Right. And sir, what's your sense with regard to, of course, you've already highlighted that the Supreme Court may not really intervene or interject. in this situation. They'll allow it to be resolved at a SAT level, but that may not augur very well, right? I mean, if the largely what Z will be looking for is some kind of relief here, the company as well as, of course, the management, more importantly, the management, the current management. So your sense is that they won't, the Supreme Court may not intervene. Is that right? Can I have that reiterated, please?
Absolutely right, for the simple reason that you can appeal to the Supreme Court only against an order. There must be some order against which you can appeal. Here they've only said, you please, we are giving you 2 more weeks to file your reply. That's not an order, that's a direction to give a reply. And based on that reply, the SAT will then give its order. That is appealable. But the Supreme Court doesn't entertain these type of, cases of interim applications.
Fully take point on this one, Mr. Ranina. Thank you so much for those insights. So a couple of views coming through on this one already. And Mr. Ranina, thank you so much. We'll let you go. And you can see, let me also look at the Z graph itself. You can see a bit of a recovery coming through. It's a zigzag, but you can see a bit of a recovery coming through. We also have with us Karan Taurani, who's the Senior VP Elara Securities. Karan, what's your sense? We saw that initial blip come in on the Z stock on the back of this. We have a couple of views coming in as well, but what's your sense on what impact does this have on Z as well as the management?
So I think this is some sort of a mild negative, I would say, because, in terms of relief, one would have expected a stay order, So I think this will kind of keep that SAT overhang for 2 weeks more, and that's why you are probably seeing some pressure on the stock. But nonetheless, from a medium to long-term perspective, we maintain our view that merger is going to be a big trigger, for the stock. And whether or not Mr. Goenka or the Goenka family is a part of the entity merged or not, the merger eventually will go through, and that remains to be a very high probable event. So I think basis that, this is more, just a time-bound correction, and I think things, should fall on track. But what this will do is that the NCLT hearing will also get pushed. So the more delay happens in terms of the SAT matter, the further will be the delay in terms of NCLT also. So whether it is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, one can't say, but it is just a delay, but not the merger getting impacted or being called.
Right, Karan, but Karan, one thing is the merger, another thing is an overhang on the management itself, right? So the vision of the management, etc. What's your sense? How does this affect sentiment on the street as well as the larger vision going forward for Z?
So I think, obviously, the Goenka family being there in the merged co is of utmost importance because they've run this business in so many years. But nonetheless, it is not that the merger will not go through without them, or it's not that fundamentals of the company will get severely impacted. So my only sense is they could have some transition period, some kind of changing strategy. You might see somebody from Sony maybe taking over for the merged co instead of Mr. Punit Goenka, if at all, he's not allowed to be a part of the merged co as per Sebi order. So I think that's about it. I mean, there's not going to be any big, massive change, beyond this as per what I foresee.
All right. Thank you so much, Karan, for joining us on the show, giving us a take on what this particular verdict would mean for Z Entertainment. But